Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick dropping in. I hope everybody is having an unbelievable week to this point, closing out strong, starting the weekend strong. I hope that whatever it is that you have set out to do, that you have gained some momentum. You are experiencing progress. But remember what I always say, even in those moments where it seems like nothing seems to be moving, everything seems to be opposing you, and you cannot for the life of you see any progress in what it is you're trying to do. If you're still breathing, you're still in the fight. This is about finishing what you start, and that means that you go through challenges, you face difficulties, you're going to experience setbacks, you're going to experience delay. That's a part of the process, that's a part of the equation. So I want to encourage you to stay in the fight. I want to encourage you to continue to push forward. I want to encourage you to stand up to the resistance that is simply a part of life, teaching and preparing you to experience some greater things in the near future. So today we're going to talk about how to confront and overcome imposter syndrome. And so I've had a lot of people come to me and asked me to address this. And I've been dealing with a lot of other things. So I decided to address this going into the weekend. And so, first and foremost, I'm going to give you a basic definition or explanation of what imposter syndrome is. First and foremost, imposter syndrome is a situation when, and most people who have syndrome are in some way or in many ways or most ways high performers. However, these high performers can view a simple mistake, a letback, or a personal assessment of where they currently are make them feel like they're not who they are presenting to be, or that other people aren't perceiving them as they are presenting to be. And they have this syndrome that really gives them a high level of anxiety, and they stay stressed. Now, on the surface, it becomes a driving force. So you'll see them and they always appear motivated. They always appear on the grind. They're always pushing, but there is a constant state of anxiety and stress. So let me explain something to you. Um, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the grind, but you have to have balance in the grind, first and foremost. Second of all, that the grind should never be attached to anxiety. What does that mean? That the more anxious you become, the more stressed out you become, the more you negatively impact the neurological process that produces the creativity and the imagination that problem solves. Your greatest problem solving happens when you are calm, when you are confident, when you trust that even in those difficult moments that you are facing, that you have what it takes to get through it. So anything that produces anxiety is not good for you. So imposter syndrome, just in that state. Another part that imposter syndrome puts up that I teach when I deal with people is it is the rearing of the head of the ego. See, imposter syndrome is an extension of self-awareness through a highly judgmental lens, and it normally comes from the upbringing. You either had parents who were highly demanding and would not accept anything less than what they perceived to be your best, and so you were constantly held at a high standard and often judged critically, or you were in a situation where you were constantly criticized and very rarely received any praise. So either way, you were driven to raise to a standard that would get you the praise that you were thriving for. The problem is when the ego is self-aware. And when I use the word ego, I'm not talking about it in the way that it's normally thrown around, in the sense of somebody being conceited and full of themselves. The ego is the self-awareness and the decision making and the processing of everything through the lens of me. And how am I being seen? What is happening here? And all of these different things. The ego is the basis for what we consider and we talk about when we mention clinical narcissists. It's an ego thing. It's an awareness of self at a level that everything centers around self, and the world becomes small on the outside and you become big on the inside and everything is on you. So you start to judge yourself and look at yourself and assess how you're moving and what you're doing in such a critical manner that even when you're performing highly, you don't feel that you are. So that is in itself the basis of imposter syndrome. It is even when you're performing at a high level and you're perceived as an expert, as someone with great experience, as a brilliant mind, and there's something that's a little off. You feel like, man, I'm not really what they think I am. And the thing is, the ego needs to be there. The ego has a purpose. The ego is the self-awareness that keeps you balanced from being overly committed to things that aren't going to serve your interest in the long haul, and probably will lead you to good morning, will probably lead you into things that will not serve you well over the course of your life. So the ego has its place, but when you become consumed with your self-awareness, consumed with who you are, consumed with how you're perceived, consumed with what you're getting, consumed with what's happening, then it becomes a everything is magnified. Everything is magnified. Everything is far more intense than it has to be. When you talk about a person who is struggling with imposter syndrome, there are five. The first one is the perfectionist. The perfectionist is the person, everything has to be done exactly the way they perceive it to be, or it's wrong. And then they start to believe, because I can't get it perfect, then I'm not really who I think I am. I'm not really who I say I am. What are people thinking about me? Then there's the expert. The expert is the person who has established himself in a particular field, a particular industry, and they are known for being the person that you go to. And the problem with an expert is there's always something that they don't know. And if you don't become aware, the thing that drives me is that I don't know everything. No matter how much I know about something, no matter how much I've grasped the concept, no matter how much I may be a leader in that industry, in thought, in program development, in research, or whatever it is, I don't know everything. That's the thing that drives me. That's the beauty of it. It's the beauty of saying I've got something to wake up for today, because that's how I grow. I grow by learning what I don't know, but I don't do it for the sake of convincing anyone of anything. The ego is placed where it's supposed to be. I'm aware that I have a purpose in this world and that I need to get up and handle it, but I am not judged, or do I allow myself to be constricted or moved or maligned by how someone else is going to perceive me, because I am always in touch with my humanity. What does that mean? That means that I know that there are parts of me that are fallible. I know that even the parts of me that operate at an exceptionally high level in the things that I am very astute at are not perfect, that I can make the wrong decision. I can be in a bad place. Uh, I could be struggling in areas of my business. And that doesn't make me an imposter. That makes me used. I don't know a businessman that hasn't struggled. I don't know a financial expert that hasn't struggled in finance. I don't know any academic genius that hasn't come up against conundrums that have challenged their brain and their mind. And when you sit up and you put yourself under the pressure of trying to be everything you think that everybody expects you to be, you put yourself in this strong grip of anxiety that will overwhelm you. A third one is the natural genius. And natural genius is another one. People with extremely high IQs tend to process things at a much rapid rate, obviously, and they are great problem solvers. They're great in creativity, but they have the tendency to think that everything has to come as easily as most things have come. So anytime something is challenging to them, they start to think, well, maybe I'm not what everybody thinks I am. Maybe I don't belong. Maybe I'm not meant to qualified or whatever they are judging themselves by, because everybody expects you to just see it, hear it, and get it. And it may not come to you. And it does not mean that you're not intelligent. It means that this is something that you've got to process differently than you're used to processing it. And you're trying to force it down a pipe it doesn't fit in. And the moment you step back and you breathe, you realize that you got it, but you're going to have to process it and work through it. And that is something else. The next one is the soloist. The soloist is always great because I've been that person. I've never really been the perfectionist. I want to do the best I can, but I know there's no such thing as perfection because it always can be done better. But the expert, the natural genius, and the soloist. The soloist is the person that feels like they're failing if they have to ask for help. That's probably one of the areas that I did when I used to deal with this. And then I just got to a point where I realized my impact in this world isn't determined based on how other people perceive me from the outside. My impact is based upon the way I touch lives of the people I come in contact with, the people who read my books, the people who watch my lectures, the people who show up to the events and the programs that I hold, my personal one-on-one segments with clients, my family and friends and relatives that I am in contact with, the way that I touch their lives, the way that I am an influence in their lives is what matters to me. Being on point all times is not realistic. Having this thing where nothing ever goes wrong is not realistic. Having it where you got all the answers isn't realistic. What it is an overwhelming amount of pressure pushed by your ego or this natural bent you have because you come from a place in childhood where this type of stressor was placed on you, and you're still trying to outperform the kid that was in the house that couldn't get the approval and the approbation of their parents or their teachers. And so you're still trying to excel. Now, one thing it does, it's going to motivate you. If you're suffering from imposter syndrome, it means 9 times out of 10 you're a high performer. You go out, you put in the work, you probably stay late, you come early, you do all that stuff. So you're going to be a high performer, but you're going to be miserable. Why? Because you're in a constant state of anxiety. So then what do you do? Another one is a super person. That's the person that does everything for everybody, can never do anything wrong, can never fail. Excessive stress, emotional weariness, and so much more is going to come out of trying to be Superman, trying to be Superwoman, trying to always be the one that everybody leans on, and not understanding that you need to have space to be human. You need to have space to recover. You need to have space to be replenished, and those things require that you address your humanity, embrace your humanity, and know your limitations. And the idea for most people is that there are limitations, that there are points you're going to get to that you are going to have to step back and reset. And it's okay. It doesn't mean that that's as far as you can go. It means that's as far as you can go from where you're at now. That's as far as you can go from what you know now. That's as far as you can go with the resources you have now. You have to be willing to be patient and work through each and every situation and understand that I am not perfect. I'm not going to always know the answer. I'm not always going to always make the right move. I'm not going to always hit it on the first try. And you're going to have to understand it, because what will happen is you'll start making mistakes trying to be perfect. You'll start making mistakes trying to always be on point. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't strive for excellence. That's what I wake up in the morning. It's a part of my prayer and meditation. It's a part of my journaling that we are striving for excellence today, that we are going to do something exceptional and extraordinary today. But what it also understands is that in this pursuit of excellence will be shifts and disturbances and setbacks and delays and frustrating moments and disappointing results. But all we are doing is saying we're still pursuing excellence. So we're going to be a little bit better in the next hour, a little bit better in the next hour, a little bit better the next day, the next month, the next year. And you're building something and you're stretching something and you're trusting the process. So what you have to be willing to do is, first of all, come outside of your ego, put it aside, and get into your purpose. Get into the totality of your reason for being here and saying, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it in its truth. I'm going to do it in its fullness. I'm going to carry it out. I'm going to finish what I start. I'm going to take on all challenges. Now, what does that mean? That means sometimes I'm going to get knocked down. Sometimes I'm going to look up and it seems like I'm back to where I was 3 years ago. It's going to look like sometimes I had it all set up and somebody came in while I wasn't there and knocked it all down. It's going to be all these different things that I'm telling you I've experienced in life, and everybody that I've ever looked up to and leaned into and learned from has done it. Everybody I've taught has had to go through. There is no perfect straight road. If you think it is, you've gotten into an illusion and you're ignoring some things on the outside of this illusion that are happening in your life, that if you pull down the veneers, you're going to have to be honest with yourself. I might be killing this, but this over here needs work. I might have knocked that out the park, but I totally missed that. And that's life. That's what happens. Nobody's got all of this stuff together. Now, social media allows you to get on and pretend you have it all together. Social media will make you, he's killing business. He's killing finance. He's got an unbelievable relationship. He's a great father. And that same thing, she's doing this and she's done that. She's at the top of her industry, all this stuff. But behind that veneer that is presenting this perfect image is the truth. And the truth is, some days I don't feel like it. The truth is, some days I want to sit down and cry. The truth is, some days I don't even have the answer of the situation and the enigmas that I'm facing for the day. That some days I want to look up and go, what in the hell have I gotten myself into? But at the end of the day, I settle myself down, remind myself who I am, and remind myself that if I consistently stick with it, that something great is going to happen. Not because I'm perfect, not because I got all the answers, but because I am committed to winning. And when you do that, when you get sold out in the process, and you acknowledge and accept that this process is inundated with moments of imperfection and fallacy. Now, this isn't an excuse for mediocrity. This isn't an excuse for being average, but this is an awareness that there's not going to be this elongated point where nothing goes wrong. And once you understand that when something does go wrong, it doesn't knock you off your axis. It does not take you out of your focus. It does not shake your ground. It does not create this rise in anxiety. That's the thing that I want to get across to you. You create the environment that you operate in. And when I say environment, I mean, are you in a stressful environment? Are you in an anxious environment? I mean, no matter what your faith, your basis of faith is, there is teachings throughout history and ancient literature and beyond about the importance of managing your anxiety. Paul told the church in Philippi, he says, be anxious for nothing, but everything in prayer and supplication, make your request known unto God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. And he goes on down and he says, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are true, whatever things are of good report, meditate on what? Those things. And he goes on and he tells you, what is he saying? He's saying, stop focusing on what's wrong Acknowledge it's there, but you don't need to be anxious about it. You don't worry about it. We don't stress about it. We don't get uptight about it. We understand this is a part of the process. This setback is a part of the process. This delay is part of the process. This mistake is part of the process. Have confidence that the time you spent in something has prepared you to do it. In that confidence, be aware of the fact that there will be times you will make the wrong choice. You will make the wrong move. You will go the wrong direction. Make the correction. Reestablish yourself and keep pushing forward. This is how we do it. This is the thing we do. What am I getting at as I close? I'm getting at the fact that it's up to you to sit up and establish an awareness of self that isn't so centered in what everybody else thinks about you that you can't function. You are never going to meet a moment where everybody in your periphery is happy because of something you did. That's not your goal. Your goal isn't to go out there and earn the approbation of everybody. Your goal isn't to go out there and be everything to everybody. One of the things I had to learn is I can't be everything to everybody. I can't be everybody's hero. I can't prove greatness and goodness to everybody. What I have to do is be my best self and let myself naturally touch the people who are in a position to receive from me. A lot of times we put ourselves in situations where we are pouring into vessels with cracks that are full with things that are toxic and destructive. And so what you're trying to pour in doesn't fit. And then we become frustrated because it seems like what we're trying to do isn't working. And that's just one element and component of this thing. Life is going to life. Life is lifing all the time. That means that there's no controlled environment in life. Life happens, and a bunch of the stuff that's going to happen in life, you absolutely have no control over. But you have absolutely 100% control of how you respond to it, how you allow it to impact you, what you allow yourself to do because of it. And that's where greatness happens. It happens in those moments where you receive the situation and say, this is what it is. This is what I'm going to make of it. That's my challenge to you. Look, I'm about to get off of here. If you look in the description box, there's a special with our Mind Unleash course. This course is one of our top performing courses. It'll help you deal with everything from limiting beliefs, the negative thought process, negative self-talk, all the things that literally constrict you and keep you in a box so that you can't perform at the level that you need to perform at. It's in there. Also, there's an opportunity to get our 7-day online business launch course, which is normally priced at $607, is currently for a very brief time on sale for $207. This will show you the very blueprint that I've used for the last 14 years to launch multiple entities online to generate revenue, and how you can wash and repeat and do it over and over again as opportunities present themselves. It's a win-win with this one. This thing has kept me alive. It helped rescue me from a major collapse 15, 16 years ago, and reestablish myself. It's allowed me to build. It's allowed me to extend my reach globally. It's allowed me to dabble in so many other things and learn so many other things. And I have created that same blueprint. So that's in there as well. So I'm going to get ready to get off. I hope that you got something from what I shared. If you know someone who is suffering or struggling with imposter syndrome, share this with them. If you need help directly one-on-one with dealing with this and confronting this on a professional level, reach out to me. You can email me. You can email me at support, email the support team. They'll get to me. Support at rickwallacephd.link. And look, make today the day that you do something exceptional. And it isn't measured by money. It isn't measured by anything except for the fact that you make someone else's life better today. Speak to somebody you would normally not speak to in passing. Stop by and drop some food off to a homeless person. Do something that will create a normal reaction within your body, neurologically, genetically, and cellularly, that will make you feel better. Make your body start a process of growth, healing, and restoration. It's nothing like giving. I'm telling you, gratitude and giving is going to make you far more receptible to healing in almost every area you can possibly imagine. And so I challenge you to do that. As I always say, I live my life on full so that when I leave this place, I die on E. Simply put, I'm not taking any of my potential to the grave. My challenge is that you take the same mindset. On that note, I'm out of here. I want to thank everybody who dropped in. You guys have an unbelievable remainder of your week.